Hey, good morning to those of you out there on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of you here on the East Coast with me. We're going to get started here in just 1 second when I turn off the traction. It's funny, I had a busy morning. I do these lives. If you don't know this, I do these lives. I just come on every single day because I've been there before where you're at, and I want to be able to bring you just the insight I didn't have, little tips for success. Today, we're going to be talking about being findable. Sometimes, like yesterday, I was talking about which agencies are the best ones for women-owned businesses. And but I have a busy day too. So I just finished this morning finishing up a 10-page RFI response, writing a white paper, a couple other tasks, and hanging out with my kids before they went to school for the day for something they're doing. And so it's fun, but sometimes I come just a little bit behind. So I'm trying to catch my breath, focus on what I'm doing, and say, okay, let's get rocking and rolling. Okay. One of the things I discovered on YouTube that I want to do is I'm switching the pictures. I don't know if it just switched on you, but I got to have fun where I can. And YouTube, I noticed when the video comes out, my picture's on one side. So I'm just going to start alternating it every day and see who's paying attention. All right, so let's get rocking and rolling, talking about how to get federal buyers to find you. Right? If you're not getting found, you're not going to be able to be selling. So that's really important. But I wanted to start off with just a truism, right? Is that federal buyers absolutely want to work with you. Sometimes we might wonder that. Sometimes in sales, just in any market, we might wonder whether we're going to have success or whether people want to buy what we sell. They absolutely do, right? And in the federal market, they absolutely want to buy it. You got to find the right buyers, right? The ones who are spending on what you sell, but know that they're out there. And so we need to make it easier for them to find you. And that's what I want to really dive into today, because if you're invisible, how can federal buyers buy from you? They really can't, right? You need to be visible in order for them to buy. That's just I think it's a fact you'll agree, right? And so one of my favorite lines that I came up with a long time ago, and I think this particular one, not that I have a lot of pride in it or something, but I think I coined this one where I said, federal buyers don't buy from the best. They buy from the best of those who show up. And literally, I learned this a long, long time ago, early in my sales career, that 90% of success is just showing up, right? I sold vacuum cleaners door to door when I was 19 years old and knocking on doors, right? If you didn't show up to the door, you were guaranteed not to have success. And so showing up is a big part of the battle. So 90% of the success is just knocking on that door, or in this case, going to today, being visible. I want buyers to actually find you and for them to show up at your door as well. That's what I mean by findable, and I'll talk about that. But if that's what you want, if you want federal buyers to find you and to find your company, if you want to grow your government contracting business, put "find me" in the chat. There you go, Charles, and others that I see it, Rebecca. Find me, right? You want to be found by your federal buyer customers. So let's get rocking and rolling on that topic. I'm going to break it up today into three sections. First off is I just want to talk about what do I mean by findable and why is that important to you? It's really important, right? And so if you're not convinced, I'm going to convince you here today. And then once I do, I want to talk to you about who's looking for you, right? When I say federal buyers, what does that even mean? So I want to talk about who's looking for you, who needs to find you, and when are they typically looking for you? I'm going to give you that context so that when we go into the third part, where and how do you position your company to get found, to be findable? It'll all make sense, right? What is findable? Who's looking for me? And where do I need to be in order for them to find me? That's what we're going to talk about today. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonald. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. I am founder of Call Plan AI, and I want to welcome you to my federal sales training, where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market as a small business owner after I got out of the Army. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting, it's not a secret, it's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we have repeatable, predictable results. And this is what I want for you. It's why I come back day after day. If you're not already following me on LinkedIn, definitely come over here. A lot of you are out there on Twitter or Facebook or YouTube. Come on over here. This is where not only do I do most of my content sharing, like with my newsletter, But it's also where you can engage with others. You can't engage with others on YouTube or any of the other platforms, really. But this is a professional network for you. When you look in, you'll see all sorts of people who are in a similar market as you, government contracting in the federal market. So connect on LinkedIn. Tomorrow's training, for those of you who are interested, I have a newsletter, right? Actually, subscribe to it if you haven't, but it has over 26,000 subscribers, and I grow at about 150, 160 new subscribers every week. Imagine that 160 people are coming in and subscribing to my newsletter, welcoming my newsletter into the world. So LinkedIn, if you don't know this, pushes it out. So anyways, I'm going to talk about it tomorrow, about how did I go that path, and what I'm recommending you do before you ever start a newsletter, because starting a newsletter is something you can only do once for the most part, right? And it's really important you do it correctly. And so I'll talk to you about how I started it, how I manage it and grow it, so that you can grow your own and really be visible to your buyers. Okay, so let's get started with what is findable, right? When I say findable, I usually use this term about visibility. You need to be visible to the federal buyer. And what visibility means is to be findable and attractive. Findable is you just come up in the search results. Imagine if I'm in my local community, I'm looking for a plumber. What do? I go to Google or something and I type in plumber. Any of the plumbers in there want to be found. And that's all findable means. You're coming up in the search results. And attractive means that you're matching the search intent. So if I'm looking for a plumber, I don't want to see somebody who does plumbing and they do road digging and they do something else. I want an expert who's a plumber. This is why I teach you to have a clear, focused offer and niche down so that you're known as an expert, and that matches the search intent. So for you, it might be facility maintenance or cybersecurity. If somebody is searching for that, that's being found, and then you match search intent. If they say cybersecurity, they want to come in and see your company does that. I put here that you want to be discoverable. That's another way of thinking about being findable, discoverable. People can discover you as they're going about doing their market research, which we'll talk about more in the next couple slides. But marketing assets, we have 6 main assets out there, and you can go watch my training on what they are. But an example of them is your website, right? Your website it's so old school anyways, but your website should support the messaging around, this is what I do, I'm findable, and this is the supporting context around what I do. This is matching the intent. And what I mean is, don't use your website to say, I do all these 1,000 things, when you've gotten pretty good at just saying, hey, I do this one thing, we do it really well, and we've got blah, blah, blah. You don't want to go over to the website and get confused. And I've done that before, where literally people look like they do more than Booz Allen, a multi-billion-dollar firm with 16,000 plus people, more than they would ever say they do. We smalls tend to feel like we have to put a lot on there. So anyways, findable, it just means if somebody's searching for you, they can find you. And then why is this important? Is easy to understand in the sense that if buyers can't find you, right, they're not going to buy from you. Buyers buy, I wrote here, buyers don't buy from the best, they buy from the best who show up. It's just a simple way of looking at it, right? Federal buyers, and really all buyers don't buy from the best. They buy from the best who show up. And so if the federal buyer is looking for somebody who can do painting services or software development, and I am second best and you're best, I show up, but you don't show up, and they're going to buy from me. They're not going to buy from you. And they're going to go, hey, it turns out Neil's the best of who showed up. They don't know that you're better than me, that you might have more past performances. It's such a simple thing we can do to make sure that we're visible so that we are showing up when they're doing it. Another reason you want to be findable is not just for what you sell, but for your expertise. We call this, trusted advisor, subject matter expert. You want to be brought into the discussion. And in federal sales, clearly you can go after things that are, really fast. In fact, the RFI I was writing this morning, I saw it yesterday and it's due tomorrow. But fortunately, it's kind of in our, the sweet spot of my customer, and we're able to respond pretty fast. But generally, when you think about federal sales, you can give yourself 6-12 months. And so during that 6-12 months, you want a seat at the table. If they're going to open up the table and let vendors come in, you want to be one of the ones that is found to come in and talk about your area of expertise. It might be cybersecurity or AI or whatever it is. Findable, I say, should account for 90% of your sales. 90%. And I'd be willing to bet that Findable counts for 0 of your sales. I could be wrong, right? But there's a slim chance that I'm wrong. Because in federal contracting, most of us knock on doors. We call that outbound sales, right? When you're knocking on somebody else's door, a customer's door, you go in to have meetings, they didn't find you, you went and found them. That's outbound sales. Inbound sales, or Findable, they're finding you when they're searching, which we'll talk about in the next slide. Inbound sales, right now, we're not doing a lot. I don't know if I say it on the next slide, so I'll say it right now. 90% of small businesses are completely invisible. And it's just crazy to the federal buyer. And many of you who are invisible are the best option for the government. You're just not visible to them. And so inbound sales, when you start thinking about that, and when you start thinking about being findable, then you're going to start increasing your ability for federal buyers to invite you to the opportunity to talk or to bid, to come in and have a conversation. That's why you want to write RFIs really well, so that the buyer looks at this company, your company, and goes, hey, this is a great response. Let me bring these people in and have them expand on the topic. Okay, so just why it's findable and why it's important. I mean, what is findable and why it's important? So you got a general idea, and hopefully you already had a general idea what findable and attractive is there, and why it's important. Here, I want to start driving into really understanding how vast the federal market is. In the federal market, there are hundreds of thousands of federal buyers. And when you expand it to the industry, because when you subcontract or you're doing teaming with somebody, they're basically your buyers as well. But there's hundreds of thousands of these people who potentially could be looking for you. Just in the acquisition the acquisition career field for the Department of Defense, there's like 200,000 contract officers, right? It might have changed a little bit in 2025. But there was a report out there that the government, the DOD and others track on this, and that many in just the acquisition side of it. But when you expand who the buyers are, start including the program office, the facility manager, or the CIO, or any of the direct reports under the CIO. All these people who are responsible for the program, the actual work, are buyers. All the people who are responsible for the financial side of it, who might be thinking about the budgeting, et cetera, estimating what it's going to cost if they put a requirement out to industry and say, hey, we want to find sellers, right? All of those people are buyers in one way or another that you want to engage with. I put some examples here. I think one of the most classic buyers you might think about is a contracting officer, right? In DOD, we call them KOs, and civilian side, we call them COs. By the way, if you don't know this, the reason is because in the military, a CO is a commanding officer. So we call them KOs for contracting officer. But you have contracting officer, contract specialist, contracting officer representative, or a core. They're the people who tend to guide the work after the contract is awarded. You've got the program manager of that work that's being awarded, plus the entire program office, right? You've got the small business professionals, small business specialists, right? Think about OSDBUs if you've heard that term. And then coming out to industry, you've got small business liaison officers. These are SBLOs. These people are trying to bring you into their large companies, so that if there's something you can help them with to support their customers, they want to bring you in. They're your buyers. Business developers and capture managers. These are your buyers. These people who are at larger firms in particular, they're looking to build their team. They're looking for somebody with your expertise. All of these people are looking for you when they're ready, not when you're ready, right? And remember, I talk about outbound sales is pretty much when you're ready and you're going out knocking on a door. But inbound sales is when you've got all these people coming at you for whatever reason. The government might want to sit there and do some cost estimating. And so they'll start reaching out for vendors to maybe get quotes or something like that. Contracting officers might want to feel out the industry to see if hub zone firms are going to respond. All these people have their own reasons, but that's who's looking, just hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people. And the more common you're offering, the more people are looking for you. So for example, if you do nuclear something, far smaller pool of people looking for you, but still you're pretty special. And if you're like me and you're basically in IT, then my pool is bigger, right? And when they specialize down into something like SharePoint that I did in my last company, well, now I'm tightening it up. So that's who's looking for you. And I already kind of alluded to when they're looking for you, but I just wanted to put this in your head. there's three main times I'm saying that they're looking for you. Before the formal acquisition, and what I mean by formal is when the contracting officer gets involved and they're starting to help the program office think about their requirements, et cetera. Long before that ever happens, somebody in a program office is getting an idea. Like every day they're walking by the floors and like, man, I wish we needed new floors. I wonder what the state of floors are now. Or, escalators, these lifts, what are they like? What's the change out there? This is just a program manager or office responsible for that type of work, cybersecurity or anybody in the IT shop thinking, hey, I wonder what's going on with AI out there. These people are not part of the formal process yet. They're just trying to stay aware of what's going on. They've got some idea of what they want next year after, right? And this is pretty much before any of the budgeting and any of that stuff has happened. So you want to be there helping these people think about what's going on. I'm constantly advising my customers right now that you need to be figuring out constantly how AI fits into what you sell, because your customers are going to do that. And you want to be the one introducing it to them. And you can do that early on with white papers, videos, et cetera. So so before the formal acquisition lifecycle, that is the government folks who are doing that. Those are the people looking for you. And they'll go out to the internet, to a lot of different places. I'll tell you in a minute some of the top places. But think about how you would search. That's just how they're going to search. The second phase is during the acquisition lifecycle. So there's a formal acquisition lifecycle, and any agency that you sell to, you can go in and ask them to teach you what that is. If you get a good contracting officer, they'll share with you literally a roadmap. I have multiple agency process roadmaps that are out there that show you what opportunities or how opportunities walk through the federal acquisition lifecycle. And it's really fascinating, right? Because for a lot of us, we don't realize maybe it goes to this group for independent cost estimation, which maybe the program office isn't that skilled at or something. And then it goes over to legal for something. It goes over here. It goes up to leadership. It's like, why is it going to leadership? It's bouncing around to all these different places. When you understand the government's process for buying something, the acquisition lifecycle or acquisition process, when you understand that, you can align what you sell and how you sell to that process. But they're looking for you at that time. And this is also where market research, when you think about RFIs or sources sought, happen on the government side when they're actively reaching out. Just like I said, today I wrote an RFI response, right? Just like that, that's a perfect time for you to be getting engaged, and you want to be visible to them if they're looking out for you. And then teammates are doing the same thing. If I've got something in my pipeline during the acquisition lifecycle, that's my sales lifecycle. If I've got something in my pipeline, I'm looking for teaming partners. And I always say that if you're going after $1 million or more opportunity, always get a teaming partner. It's a great way to build a relationship. There is no real downside to having a teaming partner, but they're out there looking for you. And this is when larges start looking. We're going after these opportunities. I know we're going to have to probably set 20 or 30% aside to smalls. Let's start figuring out who we're looking for. And they start looking long before you might even know they're tracking on an opportunity. They're looking and they're evaluating. You want to be where they're looking. Okay, and the last one is after the contract award. And this is my way of looking at it, but prime contractors could always be looking for a company like yours. Don't ever listen to anybody who says once a contract's awarded, it's done. The team's done. It's been formed. I can't tell you the number of times I have run into companies or contracts that just people are shifting the team around. The team that went after it and won it just isn't around anymore, or isn't doing a good job, or the contract is expanded. Whatever it is, there is still a time when I am running a $100 million contract or even a $5 million contract. I'm looking around going, wow, I need somebody to help me on this contract. Maybe I'm having a hard time hiring somebody, right? So after the contract, people are looking for you. This is just a quick slide on who's looking for you and when they're looking for you. So let's talk about, I was going to talk about where, I'll do that in a second, where they're looking and how you can be findable. But first, I just want to say thank you to our sponsors. Our sponsors today, and they help us with the lives. They help me with the lives. Graham Inc. does staffing services and American Sign Language services. Keep them in mind for that. Steel Toed, if you do cybersecurity support, or especially if you support DoD and you want to get CMMC level 1 certified, level 2, et cetera, they can help you. And then Restream, this is who helps me push out my content to you. I come out on video and I use a platform called Restream. I appreciate them a lot. And then Call Plan AI, that's my company. And this is a company designed to help you start and build relationships. relationships are foundational to your whole sales success. And so I have put my energy behind building a tool that just makes it so much easier for you to build the relationships that'll help you hear about opportunities down the line. But thanks to our sponsors. Do a little shout out and say thank you to our sponsors if you're nice. If you're available, forget about the nice thing. You might be driving or something. Okay, let's talk about where and how to be visible, how to position your company to get found. This is a really important thing because this slide is about tactical tips. And if you're just listening to it, don't worry, I'm going to tell you exactly what's on the slide. But this is a tactical slide, meaning take what I'm about to tell you and do something with it and do it very quickly. If you want to be findable, then you need to do these things. And the first thing is DSBS. Inside of dsbs.sba.gov, which now SBA is kind of rebranding, but you can still go there from that URL, dsbs.sba.gov. This is your small business profile. It is the #1 market research tool used by federal buyers. Every buyer might have a personal preference, but this is the #1 tool across the entire federal government. This is the tool they say, hey, if you're looking for small businesses, go to dsbs.sba.gov. And so one of the things that I was trying to see if I had wrote down these numbers because they were staggering. Let me just see really quick if I wrote it down. No, I didn't write it down, but basically 90s. Oh, hold on. Now I got too many things on my whiteboard, but inside of DSBS, if you go in there right now, there's 350,000 as of a couple of days ago in August, 350,000 businesses in there. There's a capability statement link that's on your profile. That link should lead back to your website. So somebody can click on it to get your capability statement. And then now, because you sent them to your website, they can explore more about your company compared to if you send them to a Google Docs area or something, or worse, to the SBA site where they store them. Put a link to your website. Anyways, 350,000 firms, 330,000 have no link. None. It is staggering to me that this many companies don't have it. It's something simple that when a buyer comes in, imagine you're the buyer and you're like, well, I want to search for companies and I want to download their capability statement so I can do a little more research. And so you just set the filter. No capability statement, no show me. Right? I guess I could have done better English, right? So capability statement. Second thing is your keywords. When I said you need to be findable and discoverable, that is your keywords. If you sell cybersecurity, then you want cybersecurity in there. And you want a lot of other keywords that are around cybersecurity. Inside of DSBS, you can go in there and put your keywords in. And right now, 90% of the companies out there don't have any keywords or such a limited amount that they're really not discoverable. That is something that all you have to do is open up DSBS on your browser and open up ChatGPT or whatever AI tool you have and say, hey, this is what I sell. Give me a whole bunch of keywords, put it in, you're done. Literally, you could do it that fast, right? I have a free tool that I have as keyword generator, and it does it more fancy and advanced. But basically, you can do the exact same thing. Literally, you don't even need ChatGPT. You could probably go to Google today and say, hey, can you give me a bunch of keywords related to cybersecurity, related to elevators? And it'll give them to you. And then you're able to put them in and get discovered. Okay, the third thing on DSBS that you need to do, and these things so far that I've given you are like 5-minute tasks. Capability narrative. This is your elevator pitch. So if you can go anywhere right now and answer the question, what do you do? Then just hit your phone and record it and transcribe it really quick and throw it into your capability narrative. Inside of DSBS, there is a field called capability narrative. It has 2,000 characters available, and you can just write your narrative. But that narrative is something you would say at any chamber of commerce. You know, hey, I'm Neil McDonald with GovCon Chamber. We do Microsoft support services. That includes this, this, this. This is not your hook, which is very, very short. This is a little bit longer. So imagine going up several floors on an elevator and you're telling somebody what you do. That's what a federal buyer will look at. When they search, let's say cybersecurity, the first thing that comes up is your capability narrative. They see a table of a bunch of companies. And if your capability narrative is empty, do you think they're going to look at your company anymore? They're not. And if your keywords are empty, they're not even going to see you on the table to reject you. So capability statement onto your DSBS profile. Use your keywords inside of a keyword field. Use your keywords inside the capability narrative. And then the final thing on DSBS is at the bottom, put your experience, your past performance. And it doesn't matter where it comes from. If you've got federal experience, absolutely put that in. If you've got contract vehicles, put that into your past performance. That is a big deal, right? It tells your story. DSBS is a marketing tool. It is not some sort of legal document. It's not a proposal. And so you want it to be easy to be understood. If you don't have federal experience, that as a prime, put your sub experience. Absolutely put that in there and label the agency that you're in there. Just put parentheses sub, right? If you don't have any federal experience, put your commercial, your state, local, or ed. If you don't have any of that, don't worry about it. Just go talk to a small business and team up with them. They're not really looking at that yet. But you can literally, I have started a company and I put my personal experience in. I had a job here. If anybody wanted to ask me about it, they could. But at least I was visible and I showed that I was an expert at something. So that's a lot about DSBS. I get really passionate about the dynamic small business search tool because no one told me about it when I was running my company and I was doing really well. And if other buyers could have found me, they would have loved our company. Oh my God, this company is very focused and they got a ton of really good experience. But I wasn't telling any of that story and they couldn't find me. And so that's why I'm really passionate about DSBS. The second place that you want to be findable and to go in to increase it is federal agencies. Different ones have supplier portals. So you want to find out, do you have a supplier portal and register in there? Right now, a lot of the Navy different commands are standing up these mini portals. You get on their email list or you fill out a basic form. Some of them have more advanced ones. Same thing with large primes. They have supplier portals. One other thing I put here as it relates to a supplier portal is sometimes it's just a list of people who have reached out to me and responded to my RFIs as a federal buyer, right? I put out sources sought and you respond. I'm like, okay, I put them into my list of companies that have responded. And sometimes I might reach out for something similar and say, well, I'm going to start with these guys who already wrote me something. Why should I go everywhere when I can go to this group and get a good response? And so you want to respond to RFIs. Really good point is like if you're trying to get into the Army, you should be writing a lot of RFIs into the Army related to what you do. Make sure it's always related to what you do, but you want to find a lot of those. In fact, you want to be getting to the point that RFI responses are far more important than going to an event, conference, etc. It's like you would spend all that energy to do it in time and money, but somehow we make writing an RFI response a little bit of a lift. There's a lot of companies that can help you really stream that approach. And then the last thing is LinkedIn. LinkedIn personal profile. Just make sure your banner, when somebody sees it, it goes, we do cybersecurity, this, or something, right? It's pretty straightforward. You have a headline. Don't take a job title out of it and put in something like, SharePoint services for federal agencies, or we provide SharePoint services. You can talk to Cecilia, as my sister. She runs a whole company doing that. You can watch her free tips on LinkedIn. But if you update your LinkedIn profile where so many federal buyers are and where they're engaging, when they see you, or maybe they go into LinkedIn to search, they're going to pull up your profile, make your profile engaging enough that they want to reach out to you or go get your capability statement, et cetera. Okay, so here's what I want you to remember from today's training. Three main things. First off, the government doesn't buy from the best. They buy from the best that show up. That's why second, 90% of success is showing up. I want you to remember showing up is, I keep wanting to say showing up is half the battle. And in this case, what I mean by half is 90%. The other half is 10%. But showing up is the key. You have to participate. And sometimes that showing up is going into DSBS or having a really good capability statement. Sometimes it's writing an RFI response. But whatever it is, you need to help the federal buyers find you by showing up. And then the last thing I want you to just remember is that 97% of the companies out there are virtually invisible, and some of them actually invisible to federal buyers. If you did those tips I mentioned on the last slide, you will slide up to the 3%. You'll eliminate 97% of your competition almost immediately just by being visible. That's a really important thing for you to remember. Okay, the other thing is to remember, if you're interested in LinkedIn newsletter, I'm going to lay out how I built mine and the process. That's tomorrow's training. I'd love to have you in there. If you're trying to build strategic relationships, if you understand the value that relationships lead to opportunities, et cetera, then come join me over on Call Plan AI. I'm building a tool specifically for us in federal government contracting to build those relationships, to know how to turn a first meeting into a second and a second meeting into a relationship, a strategic relationship that leads to your growth. And right now, because I'm still early launching it, I'm giving 90% off for life for anybody who's showing up. So go to www.callplanai. I will see you in the next training. Just remember, government contracting, it's not a secret. It's just a process.